On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues, and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
Coming up this week.
Hello everybody, my name's Hennis and welcome to another episode On the Track. I'm a chicken, but my friend Mr. Simon in Denmark thinks that I'm a Gnostic Archon, and I don't know what that means. But you can't argue with anybody from Denmark because they've got mermaids and they make my favourite biscuits. So maybe I should be a Gnostic Archon, whatever that means.
Hennis is Braxus? Does this mean Santana will make an album about him?
He's a black magic chicken. He's a black magic chicken. He's a black magic chicken who likes to wave his wattles about. He's a black magic chicken who really knows he's going to make shouts. Can I have a biscuit, please?
Of course you can, Hennis.
Tell me what's in today's episode, Mr. John.
Well, in this week's episode, Hennis, we go back to our old friend Ian Squibbs, who's busy trying to identify a revolting, suppurated, and probably fermenting enormous carcass that was dredged up in the southern oceans.
I really like the old credits.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, which is, we believe, the longest-standing mystery animal research group in the English-speaking world, as well as, we think, the largest and the best. But we would say that, wouldn't we? Every Saturday afternoon we bring you a show called On the Track, and it is supported on Wednesday evenings by a show called On the Track Extra, and on the last Wednesday of the month by a show imaginatively called The Last Wednesday of the Month Show, in which me and the lovely Vivian Powell, ably assisted by our panel of V. McCrinnan, Dave Scott and Ian Squibbs, together with specially invited delicious guests, debate, discuss, and generally make fun of the latest events in the Fortean zoological universe. But what's it about? Well, it's a mixture. It's a melon. It's a muddle. It's a I can't think of anything else beginning with M. Lauren, what begins with M?
Martini, of course.
Thanks, honey. I can work with that. Yes, as Miss Lauren says, and she's correct, as she always is, we are a martini of a show. And I think if you ask any of the connoisseurs of On Track, and indeed at the Centre for Fortean Zoology, they will tell you that we are better shaken not stirred. Now, before I get on with the next bit, I've had a couple of people querying something that I said in last week's show when we were talking about 1977, and I referred to it as the year when two sevens clashed. Well, that's a song by a reggae band called Culture, and it's based upon a dream which their lead singer had about an obscure prophecy of Marcus Garvey, who in many ways is seen as the father of Rastafarianism, in which he said that the year that two sevens clashed would bring unrest, disturbance, violence, and a reckoning where old sins would be atoned for. And make of that what you will. It's a great song. Now, I've told you when the show is, I've told you what the show is, but what's in it? Well, it's got hard science, weird shit, and surreality. And if you don't know what surreality is, go and ask him. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce our guest this week. The one and only Ian Squibbs.
Okay, so a lot of excitement and speculation surrounded the find. But what was the Zuiyō Maru carcass? Some scientists believed from the start that the carcass was probably a basking shark. This was based on their knowledge of basking sharks' decay process and similar sea serpent carcass incidents of the past. And if we look at the next picture there, picture number 8, yeah, we can actually see a basking shark in action there. Look at that, there he is. Mouth wide open.
Creatures, aren't they? With their little nose that pokes up.
Yeah. You could probably put your head in there as well if you wanted. And
rather using me, but
well, it's a basking shark. It doesn't matter. They're not going to bite it off, is it? I wouldn't do it with a great white, but
I don't think I'd do it with a basking shark.
Well, maybe after a few drinks, I might be talking
by accident.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's have a look. So, yeah. Anyway. The basking shark is the second largest fish in the sea, surpassed only by the whale shark. It can grow to more than 30 feet in length, and specimens of over 40 feet have been reported. However, this gentle giant is harmless to humans. It feeds by filtering plankton through its large gill rakers as it swims lazily just under the water's surface, with its huge mouth agape. And also, they have been seen off the coast of Cornwall, haven't they, John? And I think they have
every summer.
Yeah, and maybe it could explain some of the Morgua sightings. That
it's one of the interesting things. I don't know if this will show, but here's a distribution map. Can you see? Can we see? Yes.
I can. Yeah, I can hear him.
There's a distribution map of basking sharks across the world. And you can see they're found in big lumps of the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, but with a big gap in between, which is along all the equatorial parts of the world. And the fact that the two populations are so widely distinct geographically makes one wonder if they are distinct physically as well, if they are actually two different species.
Well,
and I have a reason for that. We'll get back to that in a minute. But
okay, yeah, we can bring that in. When a basking shark dies and decays, the jaws and loosely attached gill arches often fall away first, leaving the appearance of a long neck and small head. All or part of the tail and the dorsal fin may also rot away before the better supported pectoral and pelvic fins, creating a form that superficially resembles a plesiosaur. So there we go, and we can actually see the decay process of this kind of shark. If we look at the next image there, number 9, that's just an illustration there. So picture 9, we can see the profile there, and we've got A, basking shark, enclosed mouth profile, and then you've got B, basking shark while feeding with mouth open, and C, decomposing basking shark presenting plesiosaur-like shape. So there we go. That's a logical explanation. The fiber samples taken from the carcass were rigid, needle-like structures that tapered towards both ends and had a translucent light brown colour. Studies found they were practically identical to those present in the fins of basking sharks. A team of Japanese marine scientists from the University of Tokyo and from the National Museum of Nature and Science concluded jointly that while the identity of the carcass could not be determined with certainty, the carcass was most likely that of a basking shark or some similar species closely related.
I think it's interesting that you say that they were very close to being the same as basking shark.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I showed you just now, there is such a difference between Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere basking sharks geographically. I would imagine that it is very likely that all the basking shark specimens that the people in Japan in the ichthyological community had were taken from the Northern Hemisphere near Japan. And so they might well be significantly, but very small, in a very small extent, different from the basking sharks in the Southern Hemisphere. That might tidy that one up.
Yeah, it would explain it. But even so, it's still a close comparison. Yes. So the identity as a basking shark was further supported by the proportions given by Michaliko Yano when he measured the carcass before it was put back into the sea. His dimensions, given a much longer tail than neck, proportions of the hind and forward fins, and the size of the head, do not closely correspond with any known plesiosaur or pliosaur, but did perfectly match the expected body dimensions for a very large basking shark. A closer view of the photographs taken of the carcass also do show the presence of a dorsal fin, which was overlooked due to decomposition. So there we go. And also, if we look at the next image there, John, we're looking to look at picture number 10. We can actually see a side-by-side comparison of the Zuiyō Maru carcass and the shark in a lesser state of decomposition. And there are definite similarities. So I think we can just show the people at home that. So yes, it's not too dissimilar. So it looks like the Zuiyō Maru carcass was what is commonly known as a globster, where a dead body of a large sea creature like a whale or basking shark decomposes and looks like something different when it washes up on the shore. And we can actually see another example of this. We go to the next picture there, picture number 11. There's something washed up on the beach somewhere. Long neck, larger body, flippers. Unpleasant. That must have absolutely stank. So there we go. So there we have it. So disappointingly, the Zuiyō Maru carcass was almost definitely a decomposing basking shark and not the plesiosaur that we had hoped for. But, as you mentioned earlier, John, all was not lost, as 1977 was a good year for aquatic cryptids. In May 1977, Doc Shields took the infamous Loch Ness Muppet photo, and in July 1977, Sandra Mancy managed to take a full-colour head, neck and back photo of the Lake Champlain monster, otherwise known as Champ. So there you go.
And Morgar sightings?
Morgar was slightly before that. That was more 76-ish, wasn't it?
There were 77 sightings, and I don't mean 77 sightings, I mean sightings in 1977. And, of course, it wasn't aquatic, but there was the Owlman.
Of course.
The Owlman was seen. His owliness was seen on several occasions.
Exactly.
And didn't Frank Searle come up with some
I think
uninspiring artifacts in 1970?
Probably, but I think his heyday had gone then, and that was sort of that was around the time where he was falling out with everyone and just having casual sex with whoever was turning up his caravan. His photo heyday was a little bit before that. But anyway, that was
sounds okay to me.
Yep, he the man. But
he very much the man.
He was, yeah. But anyway, and also sea monsters aside, 1977 was an eventful year all round. It was a long lost time where we could smoke anywhere, and we were not all glued to our smartphone screens. It was a year where disco music ruled the airwaves, Star Wars ruled the cinema, the Queen celebrated her silver jubilee, and Elvis was found dead on the toilet. Thank you.
Now, I have a couple of things to add to that, if I may.
Go for it.
First of all, totally on a completely different subject, but following on from what you said about Elvis, my first wife, Alison, shared a birthday with Elvis. My second wife, Karina, died on the same day as Elvis. Now, that is completely bloody weird, and I only figured that out yesterday.
It is strange, but yes.
I'm not saying it means anything, but...
But did he die on that day, is the question.
Well, probably not, because there's a guy down the chip shop swears Elvis.
I saw him in Burger King as well, so...
That figures.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's something else witty I could say about fat men who sing. Like
and die on the toilet.
Thank you very much. But it's interesting that there have been, because I've just looked, Christchurch is on the South Island, and the carcass would have been trawled up somewhere between New Zealand and the Chatham Islands, which is where, ever since, there have been reports. There are a lot of New Zealand cryptozoologists who believe that there are what they like to think are surviving mosasaurs still living in that part of the ocean. And my old mate Tony Lucas is really unwell these days, but he told me, he wrote a paper for us for the yearbook about 10 years ago about it, and he's convinced that there are mosasaur-like creatures, whether or not they're mosasaurs, living in the seas in that part of the ocean off New Zealand. Which, considering that's where they found the carcass, I think it's a mildly interesting synchronicity.
It would make sense, wouldn't it?
And the other thing is that everybody always talks about dead basking sharks. But has anybody ever found a dead whale shark carcass, and how do they decompose down? Because whale sharks and basking sharks are quite closely related.
Yes. I believe did they explode at some point, or they do fill up with gas, and you've got to get away from. If you see, they'll wash up on the beach, and they'll be like a ball full of gas, and you've got to get away from it if you're in that position.
I thought that was sperm whales.
Was it? All right, okay. Whale. It was a whale something.
I only know that because I wrote a song about it, but that's another story.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The other thing, going back to the possibility that there is a difference between northern hemisphere whale shark, basking sharks and southern hemisphere basking sharks, it's one of Heuvelmann's different, more esoteric sea serpent classifications that always interested me is the yellow belly. And I've always wondered if the yellow belly can be a regional or very rare colour variant, either of a basking shark or of a whale shark. And I just throw that into the conversational hot pot for what it's worth.
Yeah, I thought the yellow belly was like more of an eel type creature,
supposed to be tadpole-y shape.
Yeah, because it's often thrown forward as an explanation for the Hook Island monster, though I think we pretty much uncovered that was actually a sheet of polythene. But yeah, the yellow belly is as the closest that can come to that creature. So it's sort of a large head, then long tapering body, tadpole type thing. Yeah.
Well, the most important thing about all of this is that, like an ancient Chinese philosopher said, that although we get closer to things, we find things out and we can fill in some gaps in the jigsaw. Like the philosopher says, the more we see, the less we know.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little studio, says,
don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you'll miss the new episodes.
And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it?
If you've been affected by any of the topics in today's episode, you can just bugger off, because we don't give a monkeys. Bloody well get a grip. Sort your own bloody problems out rather than ringing up somewhere.
That was a public information film.
And that's about it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching. I want to say a big thank you to everybody but for whom this show would not be going out, particularly this week's guest, my old friend Ian Squibbs. And I also want to say a big thank you to my producer, Louis, to Richard Freeman, V. McCrinnan and Graham Inglis, who all do remarkable things to keep this show on the road, and to the lovely Guinevere Palmer, who not only is assistant director of this peculiar organisation, but she is editor of the monthly newsletter. She is, at the moment as I speak, proofreading the next issue of our journal, and will also be in pole position to take over this organisation when I finally hang up my hat. I'm not going to hang up my hat just yet. At the moment, I'm still enjoying and physically able to do all the things I do. But if I get to the stage when I'm not able to do it anymore, then Gwyn is going to take over. And I will just be wheeled out like young Mr. Grace in Are You Being Served? Now that is a reference that I don't think anyone under the age of 50 is going to get. And I'll come out of my wheelchair and I'll say, "You're all doing very well." And assuming that you're watching this show next Saturday, Mr. McCrinnan, then we're going to be talking about what happened when the CFZ went in search of a crocodile in Staffordshire, with an exclusive interview with one of my old compadres who went along with us, my old friend, and by this stage I mean very old friend. Not only is he older than me, but I've known him for 30 years, Nigel Wright. So, I will be seeing you, especially you, Mr. McCrinnan, then, and in the meantime, just remember that if you're watching this and I'm doing what I do, I'll be seeing you.